Miller, co-founder at Workshop Digital and our VP of Client Services.
And I'm Brian Forrester, co-founder and CEO.
No, it wasn't a hasty decision. I think we took a lot of time to talk through what options there could be if we merged, what the pros and cons were. And we actually tried, a lot of people don't know this, we tried to merge, or almost merged, about 2 years before we actually did in 2012. And decided at the right time that it wasn't the right time. So we had been talking about it for a long time, and I feel like by the time 2014 rolled around, we both learned a lot about what we wanted. Our companies were in different places than they were a few years prior, and the pieces fit together a lot better.
Yeah, the first time I proposed, he wasn't ready yet. So we both did some self-work, and when I came back and proposed the second time, the timing was right. We shared an office space together for a while, and then we went our separate ways, but we still kept in touch. You know, it was humble brags. What have you won? What have you won? Did we compete on this against each other? We were watching each other's companies grow, but we were also, cheering each other on, I think, from the sidelines too. And when it didn't work out the first time, I think we were close, but we both wanted to see what direction our companies were growing in and what our growth visions were for the company. I think that was really where there was maybe a little bit of a difference at first. 2 years later, when we met in 2014 to talk about it, we were both of the mindset that we were seeing a lot of success, the industry was changing a lot, and we both knew that we wanted to really grow the company and put something special out there.
I think we've done almost everything under that umbrella of building a better agency, and the big decisions, the small decisions. I don't think there's a day that we haven't brought that up, or at least a weekly leadership meeting where we haven't gone back to that original filter to say, what are we doing and what can we do to make it a better place?
But fun fact, our first purpose wasn't to build a better agency. Our first purpose when we merged was to be thought leaders in digital marketing execution. And that was something that required a lot of explanation. Whenever we would tell someone what that meant, they were like, what is that? And it wasn't something that got us excited. And I think when we reevaluated that, we were like, what's something that gets us excited about getting out of bed and coming to Workshop Digital every day? And it wasn't being thought leaders in digital marketing execution, right? Which meant we were really good at getting the job done and delivering digital marketing work. What does get us excited is sort of challenging the status quo of what it means to run a business in general, and particularly to run an agency. A lot of agencies are built on the 60-hour work week. It feels less like a relationship and more like a business transaction. And there isn't a lot of input from the team members up to the senior leadership team. It's kind of dictated from the leadership team down. And we've always thrived in an environment where we get a lot of feedback from everyone in the company. And so for us, building a better agency is an agency where everyone has a voice and everyone can help move the company forward. And that's something that we both get really excited about every day.
For me, I think the decade has gone by in the blink of an eye. And both from a work perspective and personal, I think we've grown a lot as a company and as a team and as a founding team. I think, we've grown a lot outside of work as well. The industry is not the same as it was 10 years ago. That has changed constantly. And the team around us has changed as well in good ways. So I think it's all happened very quickly, but then we can break it down and look at individual milestones that got us here and realize just how much we've accomplished in 10 years.
People probably stands out the most out of the 3 Ps there because we are really in a people business. And we've been really fortunate to have had so many amazing people come through our doors at Workshop Digital and work here. And when I look back at that, I think that's probably what I'm most proud of, is just all of the different people that we've been able to engage with and that have taught us a lot and that have learned a lot while they were here. Maybe the second most important P is probably partnerships. I think our business has been very successful because we've been really lucky to have built some great partnerships with others in this really amazing yet small community here in Richmond, Virginia. And so a lot of how we have grown to where we have gotten to today has been through amazing partnerships with other agencies and individual business owners here in town.
I think our team sets themselves apart by taking a lot of pride in their work. And that comes from a place of being collaborative and curious. We've got a lot of smart people, but that's not enough to solve the problems we're trying to solve. I think there's a lot of internal conversation and investment to try to challenge ourselves to do some really interesting work. And I think that's where some of our more creative, unique solutions come from, not just from trying to follow all the best practices out there, but trying to establish them for ourselves. And I think the most successful people that we've seen at Workshop in the last 10 years have been extremely curious and extremely collaborative. There's no way for one person to do all this themselves. They have to build on a team.
We really want to look for people that are going to add to the culture. Culture is a really challenging thing to define, but it is essentially the collective sum of all of its parts, all of its people. We strive to find people that are going to add to the culture, not fit into the culture. We're not looking for culture fits, but we're looking for culture adds. And every time that we hire someone, they bring their own unique learning style and creative style and their own communication style and their own interests to the mixing pot that is Workshop. And I think that's what makes it such an interesting and dynamic place to work, is that every single person here is their own unique individual. They contribute, to the ethos, they contribute to the work, and ultimately they morph and change the overall culture of Workshop over time. Moving from a workforce that was 100% local to Richmond to one that was 100% remote to one that was in a hybrid remote local environment has definitely transformed Workshop. I think as a business owner, it's been a very hard thing to navigate because there's no rule book for how to navigate a pandemic in the 21st century. So we all had to sort of figure it out on the fly. I think, again, just a great team that was willing to experiment with us. The 4-day work week was born out of that. A lot of the systems that we have in place were born out of the need to adjust on the fly to this new work environment. The culture, I think, is really, really strong and resilient here. And even though, a lot of the same people that were here before COVID aren't here now, the culture is as strong as it's ever been, I would say. We've got a really great local culture for the folks that are here in the office. But I also feel really connected to the people that are in, California or in Texas. So I think it's meant that we've had to be adaptive. We've had to be open to ideas. And we've had to be able to listen a lot to how it's impacted people. But I think our culture has been really resilient and is actually stronger now that we've got this hybrid work environment.
Yeah, the relationships I think are key, right? Whether that's through a computer screen or in person. So we're really big on getting the teams together in person twice a year here in the office to at least get a little bit of face time together. And I think if we didn't have that option, I think it would be a lot different. But it takes it from being transactional to being relationship focused. You care about the people you work with and you want to do good work for them.
I think maybe in the same vein, if I were to look at it through like the core values, I think eager to learn is similar to that curious comment from Andrew. I think that's really what makes a great workshopper to me, because our industry is changing so rapidly. You kind of have to be eager to learn because change is so constant. And I think our team really embraces that core value. Maybe we don't celebrate it enough. Maybe we should do a better job at celebrating that. But I think that's sort of the hallmark of a great Workshop digital team member. And I think our team today definitely embodies that.
We have a wide range of clients across a lot of different industries. And I think the common characteristic that makes it a successful partnership with our clients is their willingness to treat us as a partner, not just as a vendor. So when we get that engagement and the buy-in and the enthusiasm to test and learn together, that's when we can do our best work. And I feel like that transcends industries. So whether we're working in industrial manufacturing or healthcare or financial services or retail, we can do great work for people that are willing to invest in us so that we can invest back in their products or services.
We've been really lucky. I mentioned this earlier, but we've got a really robust community, creative, marketing, advertising community here in Richmond for it being such a small town, and the partnerships that we've got with the agencies that are out there, from the Hodges partnership to 28 Media to, Foster Made, and companies like that have had a tremendous impact on us. They are opening doors to new client opportunities across different industries. They're available to collaborate. They've been an open book in terms of sharing what's working, what's not working, frustrations, how to run a business. And I think that network has been tremendously valuable for us in terms of not only just growing our book of business, but also having other business owners to share ideas and bounce ideas off of. Outside of that, I think the other big one for me has been Virginia Council of CEOs. I've been a part of that since 2013, and having that network of other business owners to be able to commiserate when times are hard, to bounce ideas off of, to get systems and resources from, and also to help build the business through open referrals has been huge. It's been tremendous for me. So Andrew had a brief stint with the Virginia Council of CEOs as well, but I think for me that's probably the most impactful partnership that I've had.
I think our best client partnerships are built on just mutual trust, right? There's an understanding there that we all win when we work well together. And if it's really just transactional and all we're doing is delivering a thing in exchange for another thing, I think we're missing an opportunity to actually understand their business, understand and know them as a person. And a lot of our clients are very open to that sharing, especially as we get to know them better and have a longer working history. Other clients are a little bit more, private. That's okay. Their companies aren't as willing to share information. And that's where we kind of have to roll up our sleeves and get in there and get a little bit dirty and learn as much as we can through them and through other sources about how we can still help them as a business. And so really, what we try to do is focus on asking why, or digging deeper into the questions they're bringing us and understanding why they're asking us those things, in addition to just how can we solve that immediate pain point.
We use a simple formula at Workshop, which is results plus relationships equals retention, right? The relationship R is first for a reason, because we believe that really strong relationships are what transcend just the metrics, right? And that's getting to know your clients on a more intimate, personal level, understanding their business challenges, sure, but just understanding what are their hobbies outside of work. Is someone having an anniversary or having a baby? Being able to take it to a more personal place and finding those common connection points helps to remind us that we're dealing with another human, like other humans, and building those human connections has been really powerful for us.
It's clear to us a lot of our clients are experiencing different challenges now than they were 10 years ago, just because of the changing nature of the industry. So we have to kind of put on our strategic thinking caps a little bit more often and really understand where they fit into their marketplace and where they're trying to go as a company, and understanding how we can use the tools and resources we have to help them get there. And that is different than it was 10 years ago, but we're still doing it the same open, collaborative way.
I think we've also learned that it's really critical to understand what your clients' goals and objectives are so that you can meet them there, and to check in on that regularly, because those goals, to Andrew's point, they continue to change and evolve. And if we're still aiming at a target that's no longer relevant, that disconnect can lead to friction in the relationship. So we've gotten a lot more sophisticated over the last 10 years in terms of identifying what those are, those goals, those KPIs, tracking progress towards those on a more regular basis. We've built systems around flagging any potential concern that could be coming up early in the relationship so that we can get in front of it, to pivot and change as necessary. We've gotten a lot more flexible in terms of our statements of work and how we can adjust or adapt based on even the services that we're providing as their needs change. So I think we've done a lot on the client side for existing clients, and then on the prospecting side, if we're interviewing prospective clients, we've gotten much more adept at figuring out whether or not we can actually help. And I think that's a big differentiator for Workshop compared with other agencies. Is we're not going to take you on as a client if we don't feel like we can actually move the needle. So we like to do a lot of upfront due diligence to make sure that we can, fully understand what your goals are. We can articulate those back to you, and that we actually feel like we can help you achieve those. And if so, awesome. We're excited to work with you. But if not, we'll also let you know that and let you know why maybe Workshop isn't the right fit.
Yeah, I think for me, it's seeing team members shout each other out when there's something great going on that we need to know about, because there's not a single person that has visibility into everything that goes on at Workshop on a day-to-day basis. So when you have a lot of smart people working together, sometimes a lot of the great work doesn't get seen or elevated the way it could be or should be. And so I'm most proud when team members are giving each other kudos and high fives, virtually or in person, for doing some kick-ass work.
It is fun when we see the external validation too, when we win the awards, or when we publish the case study for the work that we've done as a team. It's great to see the teams working and collaborating internally to get that case study built or to win that industry award. That external validation is always nice too. One answer I would have, and I could probably list off 50, would just be how rapidly the pace of change in our industry has been. When we started this business, we had two primary channels: SEO, organic search, and paid search. It was essentially it. And there really weren't many other places where you could go to do advertising well online. Facebook and Instagram were there, but they were really very early in their advertising model stage. It was simpler that way, right? I mean, in Google Analytics, you used to have keyword data for organic traffic. It made it very easy to figure out how you were ranking and how much traffic you would get off of a certain keyword in organic search. Like that today is much more challenging to figure out, right? And so I think as the marketplace has grown, it's gotten really, really challenging to get a clear picture in your analytics of what's working and what's not working. And it's gotten harder to deliver to meet clients' expectations because of that too.
Our clients are much more savvy when it comes to digital marketing. 10 years ago, we were doing a lot of educating on what SEO and PPC are, how they might fit into a marketing strategy. Now our clients come to us having years of experience themselves doing a lot of what we do in many cases, and that allows us to have deeper conversations about the work that we do. But it also means that we have to really step it up to differentiate what we're doing and how we're doing it differently or better than someone they might have worked with in the past. So I think from a challenge perspective, we have to continually step up our game, which sharpens us. I think the opportunity there is we can get much better access to our clients' organizations and work with specialists that understand what we're doing. So we don't have to do as much of the educational piece. We can get down to business and figure out how to work smarter.
I mean, it's definitely the people, right? I mean, I think it's really hard to build a business that lasts 10 years, and anyone that's ever tried to build a business can tell you that. But it's even more challenging, I think, to build a business that people want to work for. And I think Workshop Digital has done that and continues to do that. And seeing people come through Workshop and grow in their career, even if they don't stay at Workshop, they go on to the next agency or the next in-house role. It's been really amazing to see that. And I still stay in touch with most of the people that have, worked at Workshop Digital at one point or another. And it's just really rewarding to see how much impact we've had across so many different team members' professional and personal lives.
I think seeing people grow in their careers has been the most rewarding part. I mean, there are people just behind the camera here that come to us, fresh out of school or after a career change or even after a longer career in marketing, and just how quickly they develop into professionals with, high standards and a level of expertise that we don't see anywhere else. But they do it in kind of a caring, curious, collaborative way. That to me is rewarding because everybody that comes out of Workshop has, that sense of pride in the work that we do, and we share that internally. We share it with our clients. I think that is probably one thing that unites all workshoppers, current, past, and future, is that we care about the work that we're doing. That's really rewarding to see the whole cycle of someone's life unfolding while we're here doing kick-ass work. We get to be a part of that for a little while. I always say I did it out of necessity, not choice. So I was at the Martin Agency and then CarMax, both of which I've enjoyed a lot and developed some good long-term relationships with coworkers there. And followed my wife to grad school when she had to move up to Michigan. And I thought there'd be no better time to kind of take a chance and try something new and different. And went up there without a safety net, thinking I'd give it 6 months. And if that worked out, great. If not, I'd be happy to go get another job or come back to Richmond and explore those old connections. And that was almost 20 years ago. The first 3 years from 2007 to 2010, it was just me, and kept getting busier. And I still say one of the hardest decisions that I've ever had to make in running a business is the decision to hire the first employee. That's money coming out of your own pocket. They're putting their trust in you to keep them growing and paid. And that was one of the most stressful but rewarding decision or inflection points along this whole journey.
2009 is when I launched Dynamic Web Solutions, and again, the internet was a very different place in 2007 and 2009. It's impossible to overstate how different it was. And I think I saw an opportunity there as marketing was just starting to shift from traditional, that there was probably going to be a continuation in that migration of marketing dollars and investment because you could track it. I think that was the big thing with Google Analytics. You had a lot more visibility into trying to understand how your audience was interacting with your messaging, which was really cool as a marketer. I had been working for a consultant and had stood up a digital marketing business for him, and realized that I was doing sort of all of the parts of the business. And so I started building my own business in a non-competing market sector, nights and weekends. And in 2011, after 2 years of doing that, I took it full time. And different from Andrew, my goal was always to build it and grow it, and wanted a team, and took a while to get there. But met Andrew online through a tweet in 2011. We ended up grabbing coffee at a Panera, as one does. I was looking for office space. He and someone else had just moved into an office, and they had a third office. And since they were both solopreneurs, that third office didn't need to go to employee. And so I took him up on that and moved in with them downtown. And those three small businesses being in the same environment created a nice sort of competitive landscape for us we were businesses that really kind of dovetailed nicely together, but we all were trying to grow the businesses and compete in a friendly way. And I think that helped to kind of fire up the engines in the early days to create what became Workshop Digital in 2015.
Recently, we have a business that opened up literally right next door to us that shares a similar name. So we get a lot of interesting foot traffic coming to our door. So maybe some better signage in our future.
I ripped the head off of a piñata once. We had a unicorn piñata in the middle of the day in front of the paid media team, and the candy went flying all over the paid media team. That was weird and funny.
I think one thing that always sticks out to me is in the earliest edition of The Office that Brian and I shared, I had a client that I've been working with since the Michigan days. Two delivery guys showed up at our door one day, unannounced, unexpected, wheeling a giant box in on a dolly for the company. So we didn't order anything. I don't know. Send it back. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Let me look at the receipt or the shipping label. And we unpacked it, looked at the label, and it was a gift from a client. It was an entire foosball table for the office. They felt like we needed some more entertainment.
I love that.
So we still talk about, that's one of the coolest thing a client's ever done for us. That relationship has been going on since 2007. And we still work with them very closely.
I think the aspirational legacy, if we build a better agency, is that other businesses can learn from us and take some of our blueprint for how to make a successful business that's also, employee driven, employee led, that is ethical, accountable, and transparent, that is forward thinking, and that creates a great place to work while also delivering kick-ass work. And there's something meaningful from that others can use as sort of a blueprint to kind of, break that cycle of this traditional way of doing business. We're at the intersection of people and machines with AI entering the scene and causing a lot of disruption already. I think it is going to be exciting to figure out how best we work together. We're just starting to scratch the surface, I think, of what is available to us within AI. And we've already got some great experiments happening at Workshop with AI, and we're leveraging it to make ourselves more efficient and effective today. And I think that's only going to increase over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think kind of the reinvigoration of what we do with AI is going to challenge us in ways we probably haven't even thought of yet. But we know the playbook. We've been there before. We've solved for similar situations in the past with the changes in the industry that we've seen. And I think this is going to be on a larger scale, but I think it's going to give us new opportunities that we had never even imagined.
Our vision has always been to grow the business. We don't want to be the largest, but we do have plans to continue to grow, both in terms of including, new revenue and new clients, but also grow the team, grow our capabilities internally, continue to expand into the different channels that are out there now, and then sort of keep an eye towards the future in terms of other additional channels that we could be adding to the mix. Want to continue to grow our analytics division and our small mid-sized business offering. Want to continue to expand our depth of knowledge with things like paid social, and certainly want to look at how AI plays a role in all of that as well. But yeah, really focused on sustainable growth over the next 5 years. I think one of the things we learned maybe the hard way over the last 10 years is we really wanted to kind of rocket ship the growth, and we set numbers that were probably not very realistic, and we had to walk those back every year. We've been very lucky with our growth trajectory over the last 10 years. I think we want to normalize and stabilize that a little bit over the next 5 years. We want to continue to grow, but we want to make sure that the growth is achievable.
I think you'll see our teams over the coming years think and act more strategically, like within our clients' organizations, right? As adjunct members of their team. It's kind of how I always like to phrase it. And that's only becoming more important as automation and AI chip away at some of the things that we used to do on a regular basis, day to day as humans. We no longer have to do or devote time to that, so we can think more strategically, act more proactively. And our teams are already leading those conversations and being more proactive and prescriptive rather than reactive and just waiting for things to happen to us. I think one moment that it kind of felt more real, beyond just what we had within the four walls of the office at that time, was the first time I saw someone walking down a street wearing a Workshop Digital shirt that I did not recognize. And I had one of those weird pinch me moments where I was trying to figure out how that could have happened. Just kind of reinforced me there are people out there that know who we are, understand what we do, and are starting to help spread the message. And that was pretty awesome.
I think for me, it's hard to pinpoint a single moment. There were a lot of moments along the way. I think really early on, I knew that it was going to work. I could tell just because of the office atmosphere between our two teams was instantly like they'd been working together forever. But I think in 2015 and 16, the Greater Richmond Chamber had something called the Impact Awards, which was a really big, important event. It was sort of the who's who of business awards in Richmond, and it was a big gala downtown, and everyone showed up to this thing. It was hundreds of people there. and we desperately wanted to win the Impact Award, which was a measure not just of your business impact, but of your community impact too, which has always been really important to us. In the first year after we merged, we didn't win it, but we were in contention. And then the next year when we went, we won it. And it was just a huge moment for us. It was a great brand recognition, PR moment, but more importantly, it was just like a really galvanizing moment to see that entire new team, the combined team, up on the stage in front of the entire Richmond business community. And I think at that moment, I knew that we had something special.